Hello and welcome on our podcast. I am here with Sonia and David Graham. My name is Bernadetta. David Graham has already been with us about talking about his past lives and experiences. And David is past life regression therapist, spiritual regression between life therapist, and he does remote soul cleansing. And you'll find his website and his contact on the no, under the video. And David, I would like to ask you today something I know we talked about a long time ago, that you had some missing time in your life. And it was just a short period, but I would like you to, if you could share it, what was happening?
Sure. Myself, my father, and my older brother all went on a day out into a country park near to where we lived. The country park was near Birmingham.
Where was it? When was it? How old were you?
Sorry, I was 4 years old at the time. It's 1958, so that makes me 37. Anyway, we all went on this day out there, and as I was walking along the pathway, I became aware of a light mist on the right-hand side between some trees, and I moved into that mist. I was drawn into it, and something happened. Now, I haven't been aware of that until fairly recently, when I had some regressions and I had some meditations, and I've brought more and more information back. What I was aware of at the start was standing at the bus stop to go home, and my brother was taunting me, and he was saying, "So what happened to you then?" It was a bit weird, because what had actually happened is I disappeared for about half an hour. They'd been looking for me and couldn't find me. And then when they did find me, they found me asleep on the grass in the place where they'd already been looking. And so that was the strangeness about it. When I'm trying to think out in my head how best to structure this, because it can get quite confusing. Because there was stuff that happened then that I'd repressed, I'd forgotten about, and there's stuff that I've become aware of now, which helps to make sense of it all. What happened is about 4 years ago, I started this survey of therapists about their ET experiences with clients. And like you were saying in the last thing, I didn't really know why I was doing it. It was but I did feel drawn to actually do it. So I did this survey, a research project. And at the end of the research project, I bumped into an old friend who's a spiritual medium. And she turned around and says, "Oh, I've had a missing time." And so we went to explore that in a regression. And as soon as she went in, within 30 seconds of beginning, a voice came out of her head saying, "We are Arcturian." And I said, "Are you to do with this missing time incident?" "Yes, it was us." And they referred to me as brother. And it went on.
Sorry to interrupt you. This lady was in hypnosis, and you were doing this session with her.
Yeah, well, I was to do a regression with her, but it actually turned into a channeling.
Yeah. So this Arcturian was talking through her to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I've not explained that.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. And your last phrase was they said they addressed you as brother, correct?
Yes, that's right. Now, I've been aware of a spirit guide that would refer to me as brother, and but he was always described as a short, balding man. But now they've got this Arcturian referring to me as brother. And so I asked, first of all, whether the lady I was working with, whether she had any Arcturian heritage. And said, yes. Do I have any Arcturian heritage? Yes, brother. And so I became more aware of an extraterrestrial experiences that I'd had. And so. And
well, I suppose, sorry to interrupt you. I suppose then talking with this being through this lady, you get some feeling about if it feels okay to you with it or not, right? Because you don't know who's on the other side saying, "Oh, I'm an Arcturian."
Yeah. Yes. So how do I know that it was Arcturian? How do I know it wasn't something playing me up? I suppose you get to know from the things that are said. You also get to know from your own feeling over this, whether it feels right or not. And so the conclusion I came to was that, this actually feels okay. And also talking to the lady afterwards, she was saying it felt wonderful, is what she said. But the last thing I said was, don't overlook your own missing time. And that took me to what I've already talked about as a 4-year-old boy.
Now, how did you get to know about that? You said in meditation and regression. So you went to check what happened.
That came a little bit afterwards. The meditations and the regressions. I started recalling memories from childhood, and I was recalling memories from around the time rather than the actual what happened during that missing time. And I was recalling that, first of all, that standing at the bus stop with my brother taunting me. That was the main memory I had. But also going home and trying to get some information out of my mum and dad, and being utterly frustrated because they didn't know anything. Well, of course they didn't know anything. But, from a 4-year-old's perspective, I was trying to understand. And having this feeling, I'm in the wrong family. I don't belong here. I had lots of thoughts about running away and so on. And my childhood was marked with you get PhDs for looking out the window during your childhood. I got a PhD because I wasn't really engaged with the educational process. I was always coming around somewhere near the bottom of the class, because it was all, streamed in those days, and they graded you on how clever you were or not. And so it had an effect on me, and I realised now it all stemmed back to that, and it raised lots of questions for me. How come I haven't discovered this before? With all the stuff I've done, how come I haven't been able to find out? Anyway, so I started to do all these meditations, and I had a regression eventually, and I became aware of being on some kind of ship or spaceship, and the therapist was asking me to look around and tell me what I was aware of. I did that and saw silvery stuff, but it was all rather vague. And then when I turned my head to, just looking around like that, then when I turned my head back, I had this eye right in front of me. It wasn't a human eye, and it shocked me, and I was really quite scared at that time. I was really, terrified, really. I've got a grandson now who's 4 years old, and I look at him sometimes and God, I was that age. Oh my God, just how vulnerable I would have been reminded me of that, and and just seeing how he is now. Anyway, we went through this, but other memories started to come. Ones about being found on the grass. And I thought, well, this doesn't tie up because I was so scared at that moment. But here I am, and it's like I'm in a golden slumber. I was really warm, and and I was a bit irritated that my brother found me and he was waking me up. I didn't want to be woken up. I wanted to stay where I was, and I didn't understand that. And anyway, time went on. I got, I had a regression, and I also had messages. And one particular message I asked, because one of the memories I had was of an insect that I understood to be a mantis being, and I've come to know mantis beings quite well, and I come to have a lot of respect for them, for who they are, what their intention is, and what they're about. And the ones I've encountered have been very involved, and quite a fondness for them. But it seemed to me that there was one there present at this. Now, the eye that I referred to belonged to a reptilian, and on his shoulder was another being that I referred to as a grey. But I had this opportunity to ask more about this in a group meditation where someone else was channeling. And so I asked, mantis beings came forward. I asked them to come forward, and they did. And I said, were you present at this instant? And they said, yes. But their role was kind of overseeing of what was happening. And there were several different species there at this. And they made it plain that it was all planned. And I was part of the planning. And so I kind of became aware more and more of why I'm here. One of the reasons I'm here, anyway.
So it had to do, this experience had to do with what you do now in some way.
Yeah. It also, going back to the last one where I talked about some dark stuff that happened, I realized that needed to be dealt with first before I could move on and actually work with this. And it's nowadays I understand, okay, I've come into this life to support changes in humanity, to offer my own small contribution to that, where we begin to understand ourselves as part of a cosmic community, for want of a better expression, rather than being the top dog on Earth, where there's a greater reality going. And it may be that we're approaching a time where growing awareness of this is coming to us all. And so I see my role now as being in support of this growing understanding amongst humanity of us being one species amongst many in this cosmos. And we're doing okay as humanity goes, in my understanding. We've taken on particular challenges, hard challenges, that other species don't seem to have to take on that level of challenge themselves. And a lot of those other species will talk about the times when their civilizations have gone through what humanity is going through now, and they're here wanting to support us in our own growth, in terms of knowing ourselves better, discovering more about our own potential, and discovering that actually we have the potential to do what they do and more. But we have to address it, you know. So that, I hope that's made sense. That's kind of where I am at the moment. And yesterday I was sitting on a hill outside, at the very place where I was at that missing time, with a group of 9 other people doing a meditation, seeking to establish contact with benevolent extraterrestrial beings. It's called CE5. You heard of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is human-initiated contact. Okay? So that's what I was doing last night while everyone else was down the pub or watching Eurovision.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll have to get back to this topic because it's a really, really big topic. I see Sonia smiling throughout. What do you have to say to that? Your face was just lighting up all the way through when David was talking.
It was absolutely amazing, David. Thank you so much. And I especially love this. Again, I say your last comment because we're getting to the end of this session. That humanity, to see ourselves as a species among many other species. I think that's such a different awareness than what we usually encounter, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to feel into what you're saying. So thank you so much. And we may talk more about this.
Yeah, just before we finish, I wanted to ask you if you'd like to share. I know it's a client confidentiality, so the way you can share the research of the ET experiences in the regression therapy. Think about it. It would be really, really interesting to hear from you what people were talking about in regression therapy, just similar cases like you or something completely different. We would be really curious, won't we, Sonia?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you so much for having us, for being with us today, and I hope to see you soon again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
And thank you, our listeners.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.